alpha, beta, theta, and we have the delta waves that are released in a normal human being. So when you're sleeping, when you're about to sleep, we have the theta waves, and when you're in a deep sleep, we have the delta waves.
Because if someone's night runs, in the morning when you ask them what they were doing, they definitely did not have a copy, because this is something that happened without their knowledge. So I do not believe it's mental, it is a mental health issue.
Nikashindwa kutulia, nilikuwa nakuja na sumbua majirani sana, kwa sababu especially kwa milango, nakuja nagonga, wakiamuka na toroka naenda najificha.
Night runners are believed to be menaces of the society. They disrupt people's sleep, and others are even believed to be involved in witchcraft. Others say that they are possessed. So today we're going to have a night runner in the studio. We're going to have different people having different opinions on night running. And this is Chelsea Ambani reporting for CR Media on night runners.
Night running is derived from the mythical creatures running around, bashing doors and roofs while throwing soil all over the house. From our guest Collins Nyamu, we'll get to hear his point of view on the scientific facts that cause such cases.
So my name is Collins Nyamu, fourth year student at Rare University, pursuing a bachelor, multimedia journalism and communication. It can be a mental illness in the terms that when you're sleeping, there are 4 different types of brainwaves which are released. We have the alpha, we have the delta, we have the theta, and we have the alpha, beta, theta, and we have the delta waves that are released in a normal human being. So when you're sleeping, when you're about to sleep, we have the theta waves, and when you're in a deep sleep, we have the delta waves. So when you're sleeping, we have the limbic part of your brain, which is supposed to be sleeping when the brain is sleeping, and you also have the cortex part of the brain, which is also supposed to be sleeping. But when we see people let's say sleepwalking, which is also a mental issue, it means that the hippocampus parts and the frontal cortex parts of the brain are sleeping, yet these other parts are awake and they should be asleep, which causes not the person to be in a deep sleep, yet they are functioning in the normal way, using their memory, using their emotions. Somebody knows where to go, they don't stumble. So I will classify it also as a mental illness in the terms of the brain configuration when you're sleeping.
Gripping to understand that brainwaves and lack of sleep can be detrimental to one's health. Now we'll get to hear from his religious point of views on what it takes for one to change their ways.
From a religious perspective, I can say it's both. You can inherit it, and also, as other people say, you can be possessed by it. That's a more spiritual approach of looking at it. When we base it on the spiritual context, that's what people say. You are, as a human being, this applies to all religions. We have the body, the soul, and the spirit. So what people say is that your spirit can be possessed, and your spirit being the cortex part of your whole existence, it can control your soul, and your soul is the one that is responsible for how you react to emotions. So I can say, yes, there are people who believe in the spirituality part of being possessed by other spirits. That's why somebody can wake up and do something, yet you don't remember why you did it, how you did it, the time you did it. That can only come back to one name: being possessed.
We have heard from the religious and scientific point of views. Now let's get a take from a casual person. She will first off bring out her point of views on night running. Then she has a gripping story to share on her uncle who had such a problem.
Hello, my name is Kambura Kiremi. I am a journalism student in Riara University. Do I believe if night runners are real? Yes, they are. I've witnessed some, so I totally believe it's real. The reason I don't believe that night runners are possessed is because I don't find it to be spiritual or religious. I do not understand why people base it on that, because night running is just a pattern. It's like how you sleep and you end up having a dream. It's like how you sleep and you end up in the night tooting. It's just a kawaida thing. I just feel like these are people that have, maybe it's like someone who has sleep apnea, you get. It's just something that is associated with sleep. It is not anything that is possessed. I don't find it anything that is supposed to be you should say that these people are possessed, they are witchcrafts. Nah, I just feel like it's a sleep pattern. This is someone who has heavy sleep and just ends up being a night runner. Night running is definitely not a mental illness, because mental illnesses are defined as behavioral issues, right? So this is either bipolar, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, sorry. So is night running really a mental health issue? No, it's not, because it's a subconscious, right? You are running away, you are doing things that are not, you're not aware of. Because if someone night runs, in the morning when you ask them what they were doing, they definitely did not have a copy, because this is something that happened without their knowledge. So I do not believe it's mental, it is a mental health issue. But do I believe it is triggered by mental health issues? Right, because probably the person is getting all this from maybe stress, anxiety, panics. So definitely it is triggered by mental health issues, but it is not a mental health issue. So someone who has night running is not someone that has a problem huku kwa kichwa. It's just someone who's probably stressed, someone who's relaxed. Because when you're relaxed, you have good dreams. When you're not relaxed, you have crazy, bizarre dreams, right? So I feel like if someone has to night run, it depends, because the people that are aggressive runners, according to BBC, they usually say that people used to terrorize, night runners used to terrorize people when they are asleep. People used to run out naked and do it like that. Maybe that is what people term as witchcraft. But the night running itself, the act of night running, is not witchcraft. Yeah, so I believe it is triggered. It is triggered stress. Some sort of, maybe if you had maybe paranoia, definitely when you go to nap, you'll just be, have you ever woken up and you have like sleep, is it called sleep paralysis? So would we say like sleep paralysis is a mental health issue? You just wake up and you can't do anything with your arms, you just feel like you're so flappy. And yeah, so I believe night running or night walking or sleepwalking or sleep talking or having rare crazy dreams, these are normal things. They're just things brought about by heavy sleep patterns, stress struggles, just normal things. Yeah. I used to have an uncle that used to be a night runner. He'd run at night, and like he has such a deep sleep. Like if he just falls asleep in the kitchen, definitely he'll not be there in like 30 minutes. So he used to really get a really concentrated sleep, to the point that he'd walk around, he'd do chores, he'd end up like maybe working on the shamba, ile to like, and you guys are just watching, because there isn't much to do.
Amazing that there are various views on how different situations are handled. There are different angles that people view night running. It's not complete until we get to hear a story from a former night runner. This will accelerate the notion on what we view as the act. Stay tuned. From scaring people off their sleeps for the thrill, it's strange how these persons go to incredible depths just for the rush of it, trashing one's house just to feel contented. Soon we'll get to hear a word from one of the night runners.
Kuna siku nilienda kuvisit kuzo wangu kwa Kitui. So alikuwa ananidanganya ati tutoke usiku tuende tusumbue watu wanalala. So ilikuwa kazi yetu ni kutupa mawe kwa mabati. Watu wakiamka tunajificha nyuma ya ndizi. So nikazoea hivyo. Kuna siku nikirudi home, nikashindwa kutulia. Nilikuwa nakuja na sumbua majirani sana, kwa sababu especially kwa milango nakuja nagonga. Wakiamka natoroka naenda najificha. So kuna siku moja, juu tabia yangu ilikuwa nakuja nagonga kiuno kwa mlango. Mtu akakuja akaniwekea wembe kwa mlango. Kuja nikagonga ikanikata, nikalazwa usi. nikaapa sitairudia tena. Lakini vile nilikuja nikatulia nyumbani, nikaona ile imenyamaza sana, nikasema watu wanalalaje? Tena nikaamka nikaanza tena hiyo tabia. So nimeshindwa kuiacha kabisa. Alafu ile siri tunatumianga ni tukitoka kwa tunajipaka hii mafuta ya elianto. Tukitoka tunajipaka mafuta ya elianto, ndio ukikufuata ukikushika anateleza iza kakushika. Hata venye bei ya elianto ilipanda, imepunguza uchawi sana.
It's incredible, right? To hear the different angles touching religion and scientific views of how one can change in an instant. Taking from the views, we get to hear night runners go in extreme measures to scare a family as well as put themselves in danger.
I've heard stories of night runners, mostly from my grandma. She used to tell us there were people who would run on top of the rooftops, on the rooftops when on the countryside. So they will run naked, throwing dust, throwing all manner of sand, making all manner of noises, and when you get out, you can't see any one of them. For instance, my mom used to tell me that they would apply themselves with oil, lots of oil, so that when you try to catch them, you are slippery and you cannot catch them. And some also run with fire, like they apply fire on their heads, fire on their hands, and then you just see fire running all over. So yes, I have heard of cases, but I've never had a chance to encounter one or see one from afar. But I've really heard lots and lots of stories from both my mom and my grandma.